On soccer, Arsène Wenger was ushered off the field after his final match with Arsenal on Sunday. CreditAndrew Boyers / ReutersMay 13, 2018 Huddersfield, England. After that long, winding valedictory tour, after a month in which every milestone was recorded and every moment was a memory, there was no chance to say a final goodbye. The last shot of Arsène Wenger, Arsenal manager, was not of him basking, one last time, in the adulation of his club's fans, but of him, surrounded by a phalanx of stewards and police officers in bright yellow jackets, being ushered into the tunnel as jubilant Huddersfield Town fans raced onto the field to celebrate a relegation near miss. Just like that, with no pomp and no ceremony, Wenger's curtain fell abruptly after a 1-0 victory. He had had so much time to take the applause, and now he had no time at all. Being deprived of that moment was a disappointment. Wenger had come to Huddersfield determined to savor every second of the day he never thought would come and never wanted to end. Long ago, he became a meme, before memes existed, because of his penchant for occasional, apparently voluntary blindness. Here, his eyes were eagle-sharp, the precise vision of a man trying to preserve his memories in perfect focus. Image Sunday's 1-0 victory at Huddersfield was Wenger's 1235th, and last, game in charge at Arsenal. Credit Adrian Dennis / Agence France Presse. Getty Images. He took in everything he could. The portrait of Herbert Chapman that hangs outside the away changing room here caught his eye. He took the time to examine it, rather than just rush past with a cursory glance. It was fitting that Wenger would exit the stage here. Of course, Chapman, manager of Huddersfield in the 1920s and Arsenal in the 1930s, is regarded as the best in the history of both. In the picture, he is beaming. "He smiled at me," Wenger said. "He has always been a romantic, of course, but he is a sentimental soul, too." For an hour or so before kickoff, when the nerves would normally have been at their height, the adrenaline coursing, Wenger sat in his dugout, in the sunshine, watching his players go through their warm-ups and the fans drift into the stadium, the noise gathering and the clock ticking. "The weather was good and the mood was high," he said, "so he thought he deserved some oxygen. He wanted to soak, and maybe to wallow, in a feeling that had become so familiar but that he would never have again." As the teams filed out, he walked over to Arsenal's travelling fans. Long-suffering, these days, the team had not so much as tied a game on the road in 2018, and, with theatrical flourish, offered a deep bow. "It was a spontaneous show of respect for his team's most ardent followers," he said, "but perhaps, too, it served as a little reminder of quite how good they have had it all these years." A bow for the league championships and the FA Cups and the Invincibles, a bow for Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp, a bow for the new stadium and the new training facility, a bow for how different the club he leaves is to the club he found, for all the things he has done. Arsenal fans once flew banners demanding Wenger's firing. At his finale on Sunday, the banner overhead, and the day's mood, was more nostalgic. Credit Peter Powell / Reuters. That relationship, between Wenger and Arsenal's fans, has been fractious for years, of course, and toxic for some time. As Huddersfield's fans sang with venom and glee, it is many of the same fans who now hail his influence and his genius who have been agitating for his departure, who have been hiring planes to try to encourage the club's board to dismiss him. Now they have their wish, though, and all is forgiven. On both sides, they brandished banners in his honor here. High above, in the clear blue sky, they flew planes again, this time thanking him for all that he had done. Wenger noticed them, too. "They had the wrong banner out today," he said, in that unconvincing joking tone that comes when the raw emotion is too much. It is not just Arsenal's fans who might be accused of hypocrisy, though. English soccer as a whole has, perhaps, not always afforded Wenger the respect he is due. Sometimes, he has been seen as a figure of fun, the manager who sees nothing, the running joke, and sometimes he has been treated much more darkly. Again, though, in the month of his goodbye, all of that has been forgotten. Manchester United, his great foe from his greatest age, presented him with a vase in his final visit to Old Trafford. Leicester City and Huddersfield, in the last week, have both requested that their own fans take a moment to sing his praises. Here, too, he was offered a gift, a little token of Huddersfield's esteem. "They acted with great class," Wenger, clearly appreciative, said. "Such tokens are well-intentioned, of course, but they are unnecessary." The greatest tribute to Wenger from the country that he has, he said, grown to love, an affection that has not always come easily, you sense, is paid almost every time a Premier League team takes to the field. Huddersfield is not the only example, but it is as good as any. There was celebration in the air here because this team, based in a Yorkshire mill town, has survived its first season in the Premier League, thanks to players drawn from Australia and Benin and the Democratic Republic of Congo and managed by a German-American. It now stands to earn upward of $150 million in broadcast revenues for next season alone. The town itself is experiencing the benefits, with the local university experiencing a spike in applications from across the globe. One of the first things people look for when they want to study in the United Kingdom is whether a place has a Premier League team, said Sir Patrick Stewart, once Chancellor of the university. Wenger is not directly responsible for any of that, of course, but, to borrow one of those phrases that he uses most frequently, it is a world that he has, at least partly, created. It was Wenger who opened the doors to foreign coaches in England. It was Wenger who, through recruiting so skillfully in France, forced the rest of the country to realize that simply hiring locals was an active disadvantage. And most of all, it was Wenger, not alone, not at all, but his contribution is noteworthy, who helped to make the Premier League the global phenomenon that it is. It was his methods that, in no small part, brought English soccer into the 21st century, his aesthetics that produced some of its most compelling teams, his rivalry with Manchester United that created one of its most enduring narratives. That survival is worth quite so much to Huddersfield, as a club and as a city, is down to Wenger at least a little. That is the size of his legacy to the Premier League, to English soccer, to England as a whole. He is part of Arsenal's history, and he is part of English history. Perhaps it is too close, now, to see that clearly. In time, though, it will come into focus, every little detail, all of the things